Linda Soberman, and this is my studio in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. And I want to talk about my exhibit, Women and Architectural Objects. You know, a lot of people want to know where artists get their ideas. And so I was taking a workshop with some people, and this was a few years ago, and I had been in Barcelona photographing some of Gaudi's, the architect, his drawings, and I was just fascinated with the structure of the line and the texture and the looseness of the sketches, and so I took little sections of his drawings, and then when I came to start a new project, I went to these drawings and I said, you know, I think I could use some of these ideas. And so I came up with the thought of using women's faces, like in this one, and having lines and structures and architectural references coming out of the images. So on this one here, I have this woman's face, and most of the faces were either students of mine or photographs that I've taken of other people, or sometimes I appropriate images. These are all monoprints, and I'm going to explain what that means and how to do that later. I always lay these images out on the table before I make the print. And I was missing this piece here, how to connect this long, narrow piece with the face. And one of the things that you can see in the exhibit is that I have a huge collection of objects, and they're cultural artifacts that I've found in junk shops and on the street, a lot of wire and different places. And this was one of them. This was a napkin holder from the 1950s, and this, I photographed it, and I used this as the front of the building here. I took a group of photographers out to one of the antique yards on the way to Dolores, and while they were photographing and I was photographing, I found these spindles that were used in the machines to make thread. And I picked them up, a bunch of them, and they were bright blue, and I held them in my hand and I said, oh my gosh, they look like smokestacks. And so they became smokestacks, and I added these lines here so that you get the sense, the longevity of the piece. And so again, using found objects in combination with women's faces is part of my emphasis here. The other part is that one of the things that I discovered when I started doing this project, because I started making prints and they were happening really fast, and I was really enjoying the process, but I wanted to understand what was behind this. And I started doing some research about women and architecture, and I could not find hardly any information on women that had been successful architects and honored for their contribution to the field of architecture. And so this gave me, again, reinforced the idea that women have not been acknowledged in this particular field of architecture, but other fields as well. From my point of view, she's looking directly at the men here. I sense that she was part of this creation of this structure here. And in the background, if you look carefully, you'll see a grid in the back that mirrors the grid on the floor of this structure. So this I call Women Warrior. Again, these are found objects. These were pieces of rubber that I found on the street, and then this is a gasket that for some piece of machinery, and you can see that this goes here. And I felt that this piece in particular was, this is one of the last pieces that I did, and it's signaling a new age for women, that now women are being recognized. There's articles being written about women and architecture and women in all creative fields, and I think this to me represents that the that the woman has finally started to show some success and acknowledgement in the field of architecture. So this is the one that's on my poster and is my poster child. And this piece here was a piece of rubber that I found, and I printed it in red. And again, the face has all these different things on it. It has scientific drawings, it has the fence here, the fencing, the three houses, which are symbolic of what architects build and women reside in. And here's the light bulb upside down. There's one inside there too. And again, this one to me, with the color and the composition and this big red object, was a real exciting print for me to make. It was very different than the others. And again, you have this woman looking out at you and saying, this is what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about houses. I'm thinking about circular visions. I'm thinking about this grid. I'm thinking about all these different elevations here. Okay, so now I'm ready to make my print. Here's my plate. It's a plexiglass plate, and this is one of my images that I'm going to use. And as you can see, I made a map. A map is an outline of the image, so I know where the face will be, so I don't cover it up. These are Akua inks. They are water-based inks, and I'm going to just do a little bit here so you can see how it works. And give it some interest in the background. And I'm going to take this rubber piece and I'm just going to place it on here and press it down so I get a little bit of texture. Transferred pieces that I showed you before, and I am going to now place this one on top of that. This has adhesive on the back, and so now what I'm going to do is take my Arches watercolor paper and put it down, and I'm going to run it through the press and hope that we get a good print. So we always go two ways, and that little was the roller going over the plate. Now we're going to lift up the blanket, and the paper is still engaged so I can check to see how the print came out. So it looks okay. So we're going to disengage the paper now. Here's my print. I'm a collector, and I've been collecting these pieces of detritus, or as I call them, artifacts, for years, and I have boxes and boxes of them, and I use them to build sculptures, and I've used them as in the prints as a piece, a component of one of the prints. And So I had all these pieces, and I decided that they were, I thought, very interesting. And so I brought them individually from the other room in my studio into here. I put the mirror down because I loved the idea, the notion of a reflection. And little by little, I brought them in, and then I started putting things together. Like I put this spring into this rusty piece. These red pieces are in this tower. I've got my 3 women there, and right directly above them is a very large light bulb. And for ideas, that's what we all have, the light bulb, the aha moment. I created columns in the back, my nod to classical architecture, with these little candlesticks, and then glass candlesticks, and then more of those spindles from the yard out on the road to Dolores. And so little by little, every time I brought something in, I combined it with something else. Here's a little scale, and you can see the scale is way off. So we could say that this represents the women's contribution, except it would be way up here, and this would be the men's contribution. Or if we put a few more women on there, we'll start to even it up. Here's some wire. This is all wire from the street. San Miguel is famous for wire on the street. This is a roll of wire that I wrapped around here, and this is an old piece of pottery that I found, a vase. And as you go around the table, there's all these unique things. And so I was creating all these mini sculptures on this table. And then I stood back and I said, I've created a little city here, a cityscape. Here's the women in their structure, so to speak. And all of this just relates architecturally to possibilities of a future world, a future city, a visionary kind of landscape, cityscape. So when you lean over and you see the reflections of all these pieces, you're seeing the underside and the angle. I can see the women here. I can see how they cross over and interrelate. But also, if you lean way over, you become part of this fantastic city that I've created here.